So, just a quick summary of what we've been doing. We're looking here at Aroma. Results-oriented management and accountability cycle. And just to recap everything that we've been covering, we're talking about Roma and how important it is to continue moving along this cycle. We have the assessment, planning, implementation, achievement of results, evaluating, and then it continues on moving along the Roma cycle. So at any given moment in time, you could be anywhere on this Roma cycle, and all you gotta do is keep on moving forward, reassessing. And we've also been introduced to the 6 national goals, and we've spoken about what our goals are and also how they focus on family, community, and agency. And here those goals are listed. We've also spoken about Peter Drucker, who is one of the key contributors into what Roma is and how CAP agencies use his models to manage the agencies, and how we use his 5 questions to make sure that we accomplish our mission. And now, moving on to module number 4, we're going to be starting on page 49. Once everybody is there, what we're going to be doing is asking the question, what is our plan? How do we implement the plan? We're going to be introduced to Reginald Carter and his 7 questions, which are located here on the far right for you all. What are some characteristics of the outcome indicators? Identifying outcome indicators, and we'll talk more about what those are. And we'll talk about multiple indicators for an outcome. We'll also have an activity for that. And then finally, the implementation of national indicators of the community action performance beyond national indicators. If I could start with a volunteer for our learning objectives, if I could start here with Martha, and then we'll move our way down till we get done with our learning objectives.
Just the number one?
Yeah, just one at a time, yeah.
Participants will understand the importance of appraising the plan prior to implementation.
Participants will be introduced to Reginald Carter and the 7 key questions used to support planning and management.
Participants will be able to identify outcome indicators.
Participants practice creating outcome indicators for identifying needs, outcomes, and strategies.
Participants are introduced to the standard set of performance indicators established throughout the
So, if we can remember Peter Drucker, we're talking about what is our mission, who is out excuse me, sorry. I think it should say our customer. I just caught that. Yeah. What does the customer value? And I'm trying to read it, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense. But what are our results? And here we are on question number 5. What is our plan? That's pretty odd. Had anybody caught that before?
It's because it's glare. It's like glare right there in the teeth, so it's easy to see. But you have to move.
A little Freudian slip there.
Huh?
A little Freudian slip.
Totally. So here we are addressing question number 5. Drucker's question. The self-assessment process leads to a plan that is concise summation of the organization's purpose, future direction. And I believe we touched base on that at the very get-go of this presentation, where we're talking about our mission. And Daniel also introduced to us the Information Memorandum 49, which gives us clear guidance on how to go about assessing our processes. The plan must be flexible enough to reflect community changes around you. And right now I'm looking at the page 50. I'm working my way down. And what is our plan? And in Memorandum 49, Information Memorandum 49, it talks about strategies, relationships, and the extent agency activities. So once we're looking at our plan, once we have that, we need to also determine how it is that we're going to implement the plan. So it is very important that before you start acting, you have a plan and steps that you will follow so that you can be successful. A well-written plan, and now I'm on top of page 51, implementing the plan. A well-written plan leads to a sound agency management and accountability, provided the plan is implemented well. And Drucker cautions us, work doesn't get done by a magnificent statement of policy. Work is only done when it is done. Done by people who are properly informed, assigned, and equipped. So we here are the people, and that's what you all are here for, is to get informed and ensure that you're properly equipped so that you can perform your duties and responsibilities. And you are also given units of measure so that you can determine how successful you are in doing your duties. And those are all planned previously to getting to where you're at. So we're going to go ahead and get introduced to Reginald Carter's 7 questions. And these 7 questions touch on what our agency's purpose is and how we go about accomplishing it. And right now, our focus is going to be on 1, 2, 3, and 6. And that is because 4, 5, and 7, and if you look over here, 4, 5, and 7 are dealing with finances. So question 4 asks, what does it cost? Question 5, what does it cost per service delivered? And 7, what does it cost per outcome? So I just wanted to introduce that to you, but we're not going to be touching on that just yet. So let's go ahead and start getting introduced to Reginald Carter's 7 key questions, and we're going to focus on the ones mentioned, 1, 2, 3, and 6. And if I could have everybody go to page 52. And we'll start by getting introduced to Mr. Reginald Carter. And if, I don't know, if Pat would like to introduce us to him? Yes.
On top or what's his
Yes,
first
at the
names?
very top.
Dr. Reginald Carter used his experiences as a director of planning and evaluation for the Michigan Department of Social Services as a basis for writing the Accountable Agency, 1983.
Go ahead, continue.
Carter states that each year when a program manager presents a budget for services to be implemented, there are 7 questions that should be asked. He proposes that all agencies should be able to answer these 7 questions in order to justify the budget amounts that will support the activities of the agency. You should be able to answer these questions as you begin to implement your plan.
And here we're talking about implementing the plan, but even before we start implementing the plan, we are asking ourselves these 7 questions to ensure that we are properly prepared to implement the plan. And these are the tools that we're using in order to do so. We're going to move on to the page 53, where we start looking at question number 1 and looking at it a little bit deeper. If I could have Gabby read question number 1.
How many clients are you serving?
So this is a very important question because before you even get started, you want to know how you're going to organize your workday. And if I could have an example, Gabby, how many clients do you expect to be serving in a year, for example?
40.
That's your goal, 40. So if you have 40 clients to serve, you can now be more defined in what it is that you're going to be doing to be able to serve those 40 clients within your year, and you can organize that. And if I could have Gabby continue reading bullet number 1.
The number of individuals projected to be served is often based on the budget of the other resource data. The projected number is important as you implement the view plan.
Okay, so if I have Gabby and she's serving 40 clients, and our budget allows us to serve 160, for example, and we know that Gabby's workload would only allow her to serve 40 clients. Our budget allows us to serve 160. So what would we have to do in order to serve those 160? Would we have to hire more people? Most definitely. So we probably need Marco and 2 more individuals to be able to serve that number of people. So Brenda, could you read bullet number 2?
Agencies must be able to divide under considered accounts so that clients may be served. Without this ability, clients may be counted multiple times.
So if we have Gabby working down here in Central, and I have Marco, let's say that he was working at Isleta, there's got to be a system established in order for them not to be serving the same client both in Isleta and in Central. So for this, we have a filing system, and whenever you enroll a person, that person is issued a number so that, and he's registered in the system, and now he won't be able to get service again at Isleta, for example. All right, so there's a tracking system. If the agency doesn't have a common intake or common identification number, and each program or service assigned to their own identification number, the agency will, in all likelihood, have a duplicated client count. This is also known as a silo or smokestack approach. To assure an unduplicated count, each person family is considered to be a client of the agency and not an individual program. In this method, they are assigned a single identification number which would go along with the client to any program or service received. So here we have a client who came in and received services from Community Services, and he had assistance with his electric bill. That same client can also receive G&E services. That same client can also receive WAP services. And he's not counted twice, but only that once. But he's receiving multiple services. So we're going to go ahead and move on to question number 2. And if I could have Delilah go ahead and read question number 2. Yes. Go ahead and read the 3 bullets.
In the plan, the agency may have identified a specific target population based on a community assessment. Upon maintaining and assessing, the agency must collect basic demographic and characteristic data such as age, gender, income, employment, education, disability level, race, and ethnicity. This data can clarify the outcome information.
Yeah, go ahead.
For example, information about clients could help you understand the elements that make a difference in homes and live your plan and maintain a job. Is it a prior work that make the difference in one's ability to find and maintain a job? Is it For example, information about the clients could help you understand the elements that make a difference in one's ability to find and maintain a job. Is it a prior work history? Could it be age, race, gender, neighborhood, or other factors that affect the successful outcome?
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move on with what services do you give them. That's on page number 54. agencies must determine which client receives which services resulting in a specific outcome. Rule number 2, identify how many services are offered, count, and how often services are offered, frequency. Bullet number 3, be able to recognize and assess the quality of the service offered. It is important to determine the relationship between the service and the expected outcome. This is a key in the evaluation of the effectiveness of the program in producing desired results. Without the information, you cannot determine if the program should be expanded, reduced, or maintained. And earlier we had talked about shifting our mission, and here we're talking about the services that they're provided, how we determine which service fits with each client. And that's the purpose of us asking these questions, because if they tell us we gotta collect this certain data, our application needs to include those data collecting points in order for us to be able to report each and every one of those requirements. And here we're jumping question 4 and 5 and going on to 6. If, Pat, can you read question 6?
You're looking at me? You're looking over there. 6. What happens to clients as a result of the services? Identify the outcomes to be achieved by the client's participation in the service. 2. Identify the number of clients who are projected to achieve the outcome and the number of clients who actually achieve the outcome. 3. If there is only one service provided, it is easy to link it to an expected outcome or result. It is more difficult to assign or link expected outcomes where multiple services are provided. There are 4 possible relationships between the provision of services and expected outcomes. 1 service, 1 outcome. 1 service, multiple outcomes. Multiple services, 1 outcome. Multiple services, multiple outcomes.
So these are talking about 4 different possibilities when a person receives 1 or multiple, and also the result being 1 or multiple. So it gives you 4 different variations of the same. Just be aware that if a person receives 1 service, it could possibly lead to 1 outcome or multiple outcomes. And if a person receives multiple services, that could lead to 1 desired outcome or multiple outcomes. Just understand that those are possibilities that exist. So in determining what the outcome indicators are, we're going to look at some characteristics of the outcome indicators. Outcome indicators have all of these characteristics in order for them to be considered outcome indicators. And they need to be measurable, and we will go through this list, and that list is located in your book as well. They must be measurable, simple, clear, and understandable, realistic or attainable, manageable, identifies a specific client or a group of clients, specifies a time frame, measures an end, not means to an end. So here earlier we spoke about Gabby needing 40 clients per year. Now, when does the time start counting? The moment that they fill out the application, the moment that they're eligible, and then Gabby starts the clock. She has to serve 40 clients within 1 year, and therefore, I don't know what the time frame is. Do you have a specific time frame, Gabby?
I think our program runs from January to December. It's a year. So that's the time frame.
So if Gabby is to get a client on December 31st, is it possible for that client to meet the required desired outcome? Possibly not. So she probably needs to gather her clients earlier in the year so that they can run through all this. And here we're talking about measurable. So whenever somebody comes in, we need to know what our objectives are, and we need to be able to measure them. So, and there's a checklist for that. And it needs to be simple, clear, and understandable, and attainable, and realistic. So if Gabby wants to achieve her goal, she knows that she needs to work on January 1st, and she needs to start collecting clients. And the source for those clients are through all the other offices, right? So she needs to go and reach out to these specific clients. So these are the checklists, that checklist that we go through. And here we have an acronym in the middle of the page, towards the bottom of page 55. That acronym is SMART. Some people refer to the mnemonic word SMART as a way to remember the elements of good indicators, which cover most of the elements. SMART. S stands for specific, clear, and understandable. M is for measurable. A is for attainable, realistic. So earlier we spoke about Gabby needing 40 clients, but the program requiring 160. So if we only have Gabby to do this, that is not realistic. So we would need to shift it down to 40 if it's only her employee. As well as if Marco and Gabby are both working on the 40, then it's 20 for Gabby and 20 for Marco. Right? So and that's realistic and measurable and obtainable. And relevant to a specific client group. So their base for clientele is those that meet certain criteria, and those are already predetermined. And there's time specific. They need to turn in their desired outcome by no later than December 31st. Is that correct? So we're going to identify our outcome indicators, and we're going to look at some examples of what those are on page number 56. We'll enter the page. And I'm just going to go through some of these very quickly, just so that we can identify what outcome indicators are. So the measure for school success is too broad to measure. So an indicator, if you jump to the next highlighted area, an indicator of improved use of the English language may include a specific improvement in the use of English, which could be measured, for example, by scoring the basic English skills test, or the BEST, a standardized test used in English as a second language program. So here they're talking about a specific test that addresses how to go ahead and measure that skill or that ability. And I'm assuming that it's a scale from 1 to 100, for example. We're going to go ahead and move on to page number 57. Examples of multiple indicators of outcomes. Example 1. In some cases, the outcome achieved by recipients of service may fall along a continuum. The outcome of an employment and training service to 50 clients is obtain a job. The primary indicator is 10 from 50 clients obtain full-time jobs above minimum wage, including benefits, and are employed 90 days after placement. And here we're looking at multiple services, right? And achieving one outcome. So there they're talking about 10 out of 50. They put 50, but they looked at all these different factors, and those that met all those different factors were the ones that achieved that indicator. So 10 out of 50. In example 2, we see more examples. 3 out of 20 families increase their household income by 20% or more from all income sources. And here we're just looking at different fractions to give us a percentage of success. And whenever we're measuring success for outcome indicator, what we want to do is we want to be, again, smart, be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time specific. And the formula that we're using for this is going to be a statement. And this statement is also written on page number 58. And there's 3 spaces there, 3 blanks. And you're going to go ahead and fill these in following with what our desired outcome is. So here, space A, if you want to read space A, Brenda, please. The line of parentheses.
The direction of the measure of performance expected to achieve the outcome. This is the numerator.
So here we're looking at, earlier we saw a fraction, 10 out of 50, we're achieving the desired outcome. So here, projection of numbers. So Gabby said 40. So in order for her to achieve 40, she's probably going to have to enroll 120 people, right? And that's more realistic. Because if you enroll 40, is it possible that everybody will finish? Probably not. So therefore, reevaluating and thinking about, okay, I need 40, I'm probably going to need to enroll 180. So this is our numerator, right? And then B, Delilah?
The number of persons receiving the service is the denominator.
So earlier I said that in order for Gabby to achieve her 40, she probably needs to enroll 120. So therefore, this would be our numerator, or excuse me, denominator. And then C, and earlier we also used Gabby as an example that it would be 1 year. So we've determined how long this process is going to take, how many people we expect to achieve that outcome, and how many people we need to enroll. So for this exercise, and it should match our desired outcome for the logic model that we're building here. So here we're talking about families lack education for individuals. And the service that they're receiving is individuals attend GED classes, and the outcome is family needs financial status change. And I know these are like broad in the way that they're going. So let's go ahead and just take a quick number. How many families lack education for individuals? And again, we're trying to fill in our our formula here to see how many out of how many will give us our desired result. So here, let's say, how many people enroll into GED, Marco?
Last year is 84.
84. And how many
This
achieved?
year we have 69.
69.
Yeah.
So just for this purpose, we're looking at, and it, of course, we might have to use a proxy outcome. And earlier we talked about what a proxy outcome was. We give them the GED, but that doesn't guarantee that they're going to earn a living wage and that their financial status is going to change. It doesn't necessarily reflect that, but we are assuming that that might be the outcome. So here, how many families, and let's just use an even number. Brenda read projection of number of persons expected to achieve. So the prospective number of people to achieve, what would be a good number? Anybody?
For
Achieve? Achieve?
for GD.
Yeah, GD.
A good number. About
20. Okay, so we're going to say 20. So how many people would we need to enroll in order for us to achieve that goal of 20? He said they enrolled about 86 last year. How many?
84 we enrolled.
84.
We enrolled 69 this year, so that's fine.
So how many? Let's go ahead and write 80. 80 people we need to enroll. And the desired outcome is to achieve 20, right? And last time frame. How long do they have? How long is the class? I know it varies for individuals.
Right now, I can tell you that the average, we've enrolled 69, 9 have achieved DB that have registered this year.
And how long
So
does it
the
take?
average, I did that average 333 days, 133 days. So
133 days.
roughly 4 months.
About 4 months. So this is, we're setting a set standard, and it can be either long or short, and we're trying to be realistic and measurable. So Marco did a calculation, and he said about 4 months. Do you want to give him 4 months, or do you want to give him 6 months? Huh?
I think 6 months would be good. We're talking about pretty people who already have some sort of educational background. They either completed verified, so they or some even have a bachelor's. I would say 6 months is good.
So it's a percentage.
It would be 25%.
It would be 25%. 20, 20, 40, 60, 80, 25%. So that would be your success rate. So just to tie this into our logic model, this is going to be our outcome indicator, and I'm going to go ahead and place that number 4 here. We've established that. That ends my presentation. I believe Marisa will be going next. Thank you for your time.